Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us for today's episode of Trade the Chain. It is Wednesday, February 24th. We're closing in on the end of the month. We're also beginning to lift up a little from what happened on Monday and Tuesday, so we're all thankful for that. But today will be a good episode because we're really just going to be licking our wounds a little, as well as looking forward into what's positive and going from there. I am going to make this short and sweet. So Ryan, take us to the legal and the plugs, please.
You got it. This is just a reminder that Trade the Chain and all information on it is strictly for educational and informational purposes. None of this is investment advice, and you should absolutely not take it as such. Trade the Chain is brought to you by Trade the Chain, a global community of investors and traders around the world, which is global, I guess. I do that all the time. All ages, all abilities, all using AI-driven sentiment indicators and actionable alerts to help them beat the market and trade like a crypto insider. TradeTheChain.com gets you a 14-day trial. And taking a look at today's dashboard, we're mostly neutral to bullish, which is a nice recovery, I guess, from the bearish to neutral sentiment of yesterday and the day before.
I do want to just say, Ryan, we are, I believe, for people out there, because who think about the community, we're just under 1,400 Trade the Chain members, and it is awesome. Well, one, we got the best Discord server in the whole world, so yeah, it's really awesome.
Yes, yeah, it is. Our community is great, and one of the sticking points that we have, one of the real great aspects that we have to it, is our head of research, constantly pumping in those original research ideas, his little tidbits, and even trades he's making on a daily basis.
And free hair tips from Ryan every Thursday at noon.
Yeah, buddy. I'll tell you where to put that razor for the fade.
I think CJ Monty just quit.
I don't think he sleeps or takes a day off. He's relentless and adds a lot of value to the Trade the Chain community.
Weston the Relentless.
Moving over to Market Rebellion Crypto, this is Monty and I and our community. And with us, you can get exclusive access to trade ideas, our macro portfolio allocations, a pro charting platform, a trading education curriculum, an elite community of traders all throughout the world. If you're serious about trading crypto, this is the service that gives you everything you need all in one place. You can start your first month trial for just $1 at marketrebellion.com/crypto. We have a mobile app as well, and if you're an Apple user, you can access that and link to Voyager for very close trade execution. So cool stuff. Moving over to Bitcoin here. An interesting day because we actually are getting a nice bounce off this middle support level. We're back up to 49K and got above 50K earlier today as well. Let's look at the 4-hour time frame because I think it gives us a lot of clues as to what is specifically going on in the trend. Yesterday I talked about that TD buy 9 on the 4-hour. And if we look here, we can see that price pretty much bottomed right when we got this TD9. So right here, you can see it. We touched down. We hit our support level at roughly 45K, which is the Fibonacci level on the weekly chart. Very strong level of support that we tested there. We bounced up from the 9. We formed a very bullish green engulfing candle. Whether it's an engulfing candle or it's a doji candle, you want to look for those at either the top of an uptrend or the bottom of a downtrend. So here, we've had an engulfing candle at the bottom of a downtrend, which means buyers are stepping in off support and really buying up that asset. Ever since we rebounded, we got to a green 2 and 3, but at the same time, we're running into a lot of this resistance from the Keltner channels, or excuse me, these aren't Keltner channels, they're Williams alligators. But the Williams alligators running into resistance like that. So I do expect us to get rejected a couple more times from these levels, but I think we've put in a low for the time being. I think this 45K level serves as a very nice and bullish macro higher low in the overall trend. And judging on like how long it took us to kind of come out of the recent correction when we fell from 42K, I'm expecting about 2 to 3 weeks maybe even less, of kind of just sideways consolidation, kind of trying to break out of the resistance formed by the Williams alligator. And if we just compare it to our previous run up, we can see that, you know, the trend, it takes a little bit of time to kind of consolidate on this level where ultimately the Williams alligator is neutral. We finally come down, test support, and then come back up. So from our current point, it looks like we're starting something very similar to the low that we put in previously here at around 30K. So I'm pretty optimistic on the trend as a whole. I think it'll still likely take a couple of weeks for us to get back into new highs, but that's my view.
Yeah, CJ, I largely agree with you. I just want to touch on one thing that you briefly mentioned, and that's kind of how our prior levels of support are now kind of setting up as resistance. So you were talking about the Williams alligator. I'm quickly just going to bring up the Bollinger Bands. And the 4-hour chart, I think, is really telling. As you can see, during our entire run up here, this middle Bollinger Band was acting as very solid support for any candle body close. And very rarely did we break below this middle support line. So it held up during the entirety of the bull run, making it a very valid indicator. And now you can see, since we've sold off, it's now flipped and it's acting as resistance to the upside. So I think we can kind of use these as a good idea to kind of guess where the range we're going to be trading in. And I 100% agree with CJ that this 45K is the bottom. One thing that I think is kind of reassuring on that fact, I like to look for confluence between the shorter term timeframes and then also the more macro perspectives. And one thing that CJ is always touching on is those Bollinger Bands on the weekly chart. And one of them is right here at 45K in perfect confluence with this buy 9, this setup support here. And also now this bottom Bollinger Band is starting to curve back up and align with this support level as well. So I think we can kind of use this 4-hour chart as a good indication of the range we're going to be trading in as we consolidate. I like that CJ brought it back to the previous market cycle, or not market cycle, but previous run up, because it is incredibly similar. As you can see, we had this run up followed by a sharp decline with the buy 9 forming this support. And the Bollinger Bands themselves are actually in similar places. So you can see it was acting as resistance here until it broke above and started trading here. But I think the same thing is going to happen here. We can't necessarily look to a break above this Bollinger Band as confirmation that bullish price action is going to continue, because now we have this sort of price ceiling indicated by this TD9 sell resistance right here. I think that this is going to be a pretty accurate trade range for us to consolidate in, similar to this period of time right here, where we consolidated above this setup support from this buy 9. So I think it looks very similar, and I think we're facing some decent challenges. One last thing I will mention, I'm watching closely for sentiment here. I think it's really become apparent recently that this market is being driven by retail speculation. So I'm not only looking for a breakout above the technical levels, I'm looking for a flip in this sentiment. So that may come following a news catalyst, or it may just be the fact that the shorts have been shaken out due to an extended period of consolidation. As soon as this becomes more bearish and crosses above 60, I'll have much more conviction entering a long trade. But in the meantime, I think we're kind of destined for this period of consolidation that CJ was hinting at around 45K.
So looking at the sentiment, right, I think that backs up what you guys are saying. Even the daily, the hourly sentiment being neutral, long-term sentiment being bullish. And the fact that MicroStrategy announced today that they bought $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, and it hasn't really made a difference in the price. Square bought 167 million, I think, and it didn't make a difference in the price. 170 million, there you go. And normally, in previous cycles, this would send the price through the roof for Bitcoin. And that range that you pointed out, guys, wasn't that like a $13,000 to $14,000 range where the trade could be in for Bitcoin? That's still a very volatile like range of prices, I guess. I mean, there's still a bit of appreciation there, even if we're range bound in between those two areas.
I want to add to that, Ryan, because that brings up a really good point. So we had two news pieces, one released 20 a little over 22 hours ago, one released 5 hours ago, about major purchases by corporates that in the past, when they've announced, have just been a catalyst jumpstart for Bitcoin, almost like a must tweet. What do you think is happening that we're not, listen, we've recovered a lot of the way so far from what happened on Monday into Tuesday morning's bleed off. But why do you think, guys, that this news has not been a catalyst for Bitcoin going up back to its previous levels from last week?
Before you answer that, I just want to point out one more thing. Fed Chairman Jerome Powell, he was fairly adamant yesterday that rates will not increase. So they're not worried about the specter of inflation as well, which is something Dennis pointed out this morning in our morning newsletter. Why isn't Bitcoin going higher? Is it because there are more sellers than buyers right now, and that's kind of keeping it flat, even though there are more people selling, the buyers are buying in larger quantities? What's going on there?
I'll throw one more thing at you. I'm going to make this I'm going to make a lot to unpack here. Hold on. Now, to counter the good news, we did have, Ryan and I mentioned at the beginning of the week about, there was the Bill Gates article, him coming out. There was Yellen coming out publicly, all negative towards Bitcoin. Nouriel Roubini. Wait, I don't know if he moves the needle anymore.
No, he doesn't matter for Bitcoin.
He doesn't matter anymore. But maybe this is an equalization of sentiment. I don't know. Just spitballing here.
I think we're just seeing natural profit taking up at the 55K, 57K level. Saw the same thing at VGX, briefly above $7. Same thing with Ethereum too, above 1,800, 1,900. That's a natural thing that will just happen in market cycles. I do kind of disagree. I do think it's bullish for the market that Saylor, that Square, that all these guys are buying the dip because it shows that they're sticking around for the long haul and they are dedicated. I mean, Saylor's got like Bitcoin valued at like $4 or $5 billion in MicroStrategy now. It's just absolutely insane. So
do you see how much debt that's taken put on the company though? Just throwing it out there.
No, I know.
A lot of it's been a debt raise.
It's not good.
That's like gambling at the casinos with your credit card. Okay, back to you, CJ. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's turned out good so far, but we'll see how the party ends. We just never hear about Saylor talking about an exit strategy or anything. It's just like Bitcoin's going to be the global reserve currency. I don't know. Wrapping this up, I mean, it just seems like news that is just more of the same thing.
What do you, one more thing I wanted to ask about. What do you make of GBTC trading at a discount? Because it usually trades at a premium to NAV, and right now it's trading at a discount to NAV after the sell-off. What do you think that means for the markets, short or long term?
Well, now its premium did compress like 90% going back 2-3 weeks ago. It went from, I think it was 70, 80% premium. It actually compressed all the way down to about 2 to 3%. Remarkably, I don't know what did it or what caused it, but it's interesting.
You want to take that one, Monty?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what caused that, but I think it could actually be attributed to the fact that institutional interest at that price point may have been falling a little bit, or maybe not even just institutional interest, but more like bigger player interest was kind of dwindling around the 50K price point. So I think now that price is kind of going down, the premiums are down. I think we may see a bit more institutional buying, and then as a result, those premiums will go back up. But yeah, it's just supply and demand. And I think CJ made a good point when he said, like, Michael Saylor doesn't really have an exit strategy, right? They're just buying this for the long term. So until them buying Bitcoin at this point almost isn't really news. It's going to be, and therefore it's not so much a catalyst for price action. But the day when they start dumping Bitcoin, I mean, that will be real news and that will be a real catalyst for price action. But yeah.
I mean, will we even know if they sell?
Well, yeah, of course
Yeah.
we will, so much. And I doubt he'll be saying that Bitcoin will one day be worth $100 trillion market cap-wise if he sells.
The problem is we're gonna experience a huge bump in the market downwards, and then at the end of that quarter we're gonna learn that they sold on that particular date. But to Monty and CJ, you know what the next best thing that Saylor could do right now is, he loves to be, ever since Bitcoin, he loves to be there out in front of the camera and doing his thing all crypto style, would be for him to publicly come out and say, listen, this is what an exit strategy for a corporate that holds how many billions in Bitcoin looks like, or possible scenarios.
How much would Bitcoin be worth per token, per coin, at $100 trillion market cap? Roughly.
It would be worth 100 times more than it is right now, roughly. Let's just round it out.
5 million.
5 million
5 million
Bitcoin?
bucks.
Okay.
2022 price target.
Well, that's what he said, 5 million bucks.
No.
Oh, because I was about to say I won't have to do YouTube anymore.
Same.
We do it for the love. We do it for the love of the
We
game.
do it for the passion. All right. So I know, the guys here were talking about exchange coins. We wanted to hit up on those because those things have been coming back quicker. A lot of them didn't even dip so much. They did give back, but we felt the resilience was really quick to rebound. And Ryan, take us through a couple that you noted.
Yeah, so Binance Coin continued its rampage. At one point this morning, it was up 33% over the last 24-hour period. VGX, another one that we know some people say we talk about a bit, but I mean, we talk about it when it does well, and it was up 33% as well this morning at one point, and it's still up 24%, so it's a little bit off those highs. Let me see where BNB is at. BNB is, now it's up about 10%, 11%, so it's cooled off a bit as well. There's been some profit taking there. But for both of those to be up over 30% over a 24-hour period at the same time, I mean, that just shows that people are starting to recognize the value in these exchange tokens and what they bring in terms of utility, and I guess what that means overall for the exchanges that they're tied to. Yeah, I don't have anything.
No, I want to bring in, I want to talk about BNB for a little bit, for just a sec, actually. It's one of CJ's heroes, CZ, loves the guy. But the thing is that, CJ made a comment the other day that the guy just seems to print money, and it's true, because you look at BNB and you look how he tied BNB into the Binance chain, right? Brilliant idea. One, come up with an alternative for Ethereum L1 gas fees. Two, make your utility token tied to that new chain. And then three, introduce DEX swap platforms to it, right? So you have things like Pancake Swap, ticker Cake. It goes up just like BNB. It has had a parabolic run, but the value is there, and it's giving this viable alternative to Ethereum-based products. And I think it's absolutely brilliant.
Well, there's definitely a huge aspect of centralization that comes with the Binance chain and building on top of it. But it's interesting to see what the market developers are actually doing, and if they're moving to a centralized project or a centralized chain to lower the fees temporarily, then that kind of just gives us a perspective that decentralization is not the core thing here. Profit is much more important to the individuals who are moving to Binance chain. But I mean, at the same time, Ethereum, I saw a screenshot on Twitter today of Ethereum gas fees at like 12 grand for a $50 transaction. It just doesn't.
Wow. Hey, what?
I'm gonna give a little piece of inside information that's been happening with our institutional clients over the last 36 hours. We've had major institutional clients and hedge funds not be able to do ETH withdrawals at all. I mean, people who have thousands and thousands of ETH that they circulate through on a daily basis, unable to do withdrawals because of congestion and price, just locking it out. I mean, that's got to change.
And the way that
Sorry, CJ. What's the solution? Is it the ZK rollups? Is it loop ring? How do we fix that?
Well, you're not going to have listen. Loopring LRC is a great layer 2 project that's navigating around it, but it's not going to be for the institutional players. There are a couple little extra steps right now to work it on the retail side. So I don't know, man. It could be just having a whole nother chain to operate. I don't know. Monty, you look smart today. Tell us.
I don't feel very smart today, but yeah, I think, I mean, we can take a lot away from this, but I don't know that Binance chain is going to have continued success over several market cycles for several reasons. One, because I don't expect Ethereum gas fees to be an issue forever. I do expect some form of solution to appear eventually that will allow the chain to continue growing and congestion to decrease a bit. But also, I think CJ made a good point that the people that are trading on Binance right now are really, or developing on the Binance chain even, are really more so concerned with capitalizing on the mania right now and making profits than they are so with decentralization. And I think right now that's okay because you can make a lot of money doing that. But in the grand scheme of things, I think a lot of the core appeal of ETH is its decentralized nature. So really, I think this is just kind of really a flash in the pan. But one thing that CJ and I do always talk about is if you can find an asset that shows strength during a red market against the grain, it probably is speaking to the added utility of this asset or the independent utility of this asset. So when we see Binance Coin and VGX performing like they're performing, we can kind of assume that they have some value that's independent of Bitcoin's store of value ethos, and people are kind of speculating it on something else. And in this case, it may be the network effect or Metcalfe's law, like Pat always talks about. VGX, Voyager is still onboarding customers at an incredible rate. They have earnings coming up. So I think that this recent downturn has been good for VGX in the sense that it's proved its value is kind of independent of the rest of the crypto market. So that's kind of one of the more interesting things we've been able to take away from the last week, in my opinion.
I'm going to keep this VGX chart up here because Ryan, I want you to talk about it. I want you to talk about the resilience that Monty just mentioned, because it still shows that things that are built well are performing well.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? A lot of the market sold off, and VGX certainly took its lumps, but the increasing number of people getting onto the VGX platform, knowing the details around the VLP, the Voyager loyalty program. And when you sign up for Voyager, you're incentivized to buy the tokens because they pay out interest. And you earn higher interest rates based on how many you own on other coins that you hold on the Voyager platform. So the more people you have going on to Voyager, the more people are going to buy the tokens. So even in a down market, I'm not going to say it's insurance against the downside because that's a bit overwrought, but I think you do have a bit of, okay, if they're continuing to expand and they're continuing to sign up new members, it's almost like you might not have insurance against the downside, but you do have an asset that will only go down so far, that it has that support. And when it goes down, as was shown overnight, there's a significant level of support for the asset and people who want to gobble it up at a discount. For it to go from something like, what was it, $4.88, I think, yesterday?
Yeah.
Last night, and then
Right here, we got, yeah,
it's $4.52. Okay, and then it's up to $7 a coin when I woke up this morning. I mean, I had like the that scene in The Mask where the guy's eyes pop out of his skull. Like when I looked at it, I was like, wow, okay. I was shocked. I didn't expect it to go up that much in one night. But I think the overnight trading in Asia, the added numbers of people signing up. I mean, my wife was just approved last week, and she was on the wait list for a while. And I'm seeing
congratulations to her.
Yes, she's excited. Snapped up some VGX and some ETH. Smart woman, ETH Maxi. But ultimately, right? You have all these people coming online. You have the good feelings around it. You have the recent fundraise. You have the token swap coming. In 40 days, give or take. I think there's a lot of positive momentum around Voyager that you aren't necessarily seeing with other projects.
by the way, just look at that 1 hour projected sentiment and daily sentiment. It's definitely turned itself around. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that resilience in the midst of a bear market or bear market conditions. VGX outperformed Bitcoin during the entire sell-off throughout Tuesday and Monday, which is pretty unheard of for an altcoin to do. I definitely encourage you guys to check out the book, Hedge Fund Market Wizards. First chapter, Colm O'Shea, this hedge fund manager, brilliant, made like hundreds of millions of dollars for George Soros before going on his own. And he noted that, a mistake that a lot of people make is longing the laggard, thinking it will catch up, when in reality, it's probably just better to, long the assets that are the strongest in a bull market.
So just to reinforce that point, CJ, Voyager VGX is up 401% versus Bitcoin over the last 30 days, right? I mean, that's remarkable performance considering how well Bitcoin has done this year overall. Yeah. That's incredible. And 131% versus the dollar.
One of the other things that I want to bring up is this company right here, as we look at their 4 hour on the last couple of days here, and this is StormX, ticker STMX. Now, we are going to be interviewing. We're going to have the CEO, founder of StormX on this show. It'll air sometime next week. We're going to ask him the tough questions. Actually, I'm going to be good cop. I think CJ is going to hold him down and be bad cop. We'll see. But this is also one that people have their eye out on. It's a new entrant that just popped onto the scene with its rush earlier in the month. So it became quite popular. But it also has a Metcalfe's Law type of metric overview to it as well in its business model. So what do you guys think? I mean, we'll see if this one is for the long haul or not.
Yeah, like I've said, I don't own any currently. I'm waiting to see what Simon has to say to some of our questions. Really grateful that he's agreed to do that and talk with us. But yeah, I mean, looking here, you got the same TD by 9 on the 4 hour when compared to all the other assets we've looked at. So we'll see if this thing has hit an ultimate bottom or if we go further down. But yeah, it would have been nicer to see a larger pump from Storm today, despite, we've gone down so much over the course of the sell-off. So
yeah, I think retail traders are still a bit gun shy right now following the kind of really red day, but I do think that StormX is going to be an asset that really appeals to the retail trader. It's got a low price point, relatively low market cap compared to other assets in the space. And I think just it's kind of defined utility and yeah, just largely speculative nature, I think really will appeal to the retail trader. And I think people are going to start buying this up once we start seeing an upturn in Bitcoin. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if during the next uptrend for Bitcoin, if StormX outperforms it. So
interesting. All right. Anybody got anything else for today or what?
I'm stunned.
I'll tell you, CJ brought up a good point before we went on the air today. He said, man, he's looking for some time off after this bull run. And I got to tell you, this bull runs do tire you out. But it's okay because we suck it in. For those of us who've been in this space for a little bit, the last 2 plus years, a little.
Or went through the bull run in 06, right? And then the downturn.
It's
Alex,
heavy exercise.
Speaking of bull runs, a fun thing to do during bull runs is a dartboard portfolio.
Yes.
Yeah. So
what are we doing? What are we doing, Ryan?
Saturday, Alex and I are putting a bunch of tickers on a dartboard, each taking 3 throws. I'm going blindfolded and going to pick 3 coins that way to invest in. I'm going to toss $1,000 into the total dartboard portfolio. We're going to see what happens.
I am taking a road trip to Ryan's house, and we will be there together shooting darts at a dartboard full of crypto tickers to see what we're going to invest in, to see if a dartboard will outperform our own nugget picks from our head. So we'll see.
Exactly. That's how you know if you're really in a bull market. If you can just pick coins off a dartboard, that's pretty much the definition.
If I have an eye patch come Monday for the show, I'll be pissed. All right, folks, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope we imparted a little bit of wisdom. Things are looking good. The bull run continues. Last week we did give our predicted end to that, so roadmap it. And CJ, to the moon. To the moon. You got to point to it. But thank you very much, guys. Hold on to your handlebars. Happy trading. I've never seen a honey hole this month, so we will see you tomorrow.
Tomorrow.